Citadelcorex, The Galactic Gospel Disciples, a documentary story of Christianity, space exploration, and humanity's multiplanetary future. 2050. Section 1. The year humanity left Earth behind. The year was 2050, and humanity had finally crossed a threshold that generations before had considered almost impossible. Earth was no longer the only permanent home of human civilization. Mars had functioning settlements. Orbital cities surrounded Earth and the Moon. Scientific stations operated farther into the solar system, and commercial spacecraft were becoming as familiar to humanity as airplanes had once been. The Great Transformation had not happened overnight. It had taken decades of reusable rockets, artificial intelligence, autonomous robotics, advanced life, support systems, nuclear power, international cooperation, and thousands of engineers willing to solve. NASA remained one of the world's most important scientific institutions, coordinating deep space research and planetary exploration, while SpaceX had transformed the economics of reaching orbit through reusable launch systems and increasingly ambitious interplanetary transportation. XI, meanwhile, had become one of several major artificial intelligence organizations whose systems assisted humanity with navigation, engineering simulations, scientific research, robotics, and the enormous quantity of information required to maintain civilization beyond Earth. But something unexpected had happened alongside the technological revolution. Humanity had become more advanced without becoming less spiritual. In fact, millions of Christians living across Earth and the growing space settlements had begun asking a question that seemed strange to previous generations. If humanity was becoming a multiplanetary species, what would Christianity look like among the stars? Would churches exist on Mars? Would astronauts pray before launching toward Jupiter? Would Christian communities establish schools inside orbital habitats? Would the gospel travel with humanity as it expanded into the solar system? And perhaps most importantly, could technological civilization and Christian faith coexist without one destroying the other? In the middle of this enormous transformation stood an organization known as Citadelcorex. Its followers called themselves the Galactic Gospel Disciples. They were not a government, a corporation, or a military organization. They were a Christian exploration movement built around a simple idea. Humanity could explore the universe while remembering that technological power did not make humanity God. Their unofficial motto was simple: explore farther, serve deeper, keep Christ at the center. And their story began in a city unlike any other. Section 2. Jehovah Shaba District. By 2050, one of the most remarkable cities on Earth had developed in a region that decades earlier had been ordinary urban land. Its name was Jehovah Shaba District. The name came from an ancient biblical expression associated with the Lord's presence and peace, but the city itself was unmistakably futuristic. Towering structures rose above enormous gardens. Autonomous electric transportation moved silently through pedestrian corridors. Solar infrastructure covered rooftops and vertical surfaces. Artificial intelligence coordinated water systems, energy distribution, agriculture, emergency services, and transportation. Yet, Jehovah Shaba District was not designed to look like a machine. Its architects believed the opposite. They wanted technology to disappear into the background. Trees grew inside enormous climate-controlled atriums. Churches were built beside research laboratories. Children studied astronomy alongside theology. Medical centers operated beside community gardens. Spacecraft engineering facilities stood within walking distance of Christian universities. At the center of the district stood the Citadelcorex headquarters. The headquarters looked less like a traditional corporate tower and more like a futuristic sanctuary. Its central structure was circular, representing the idea that humanity's journey into space should never have a beginning without remembering its home. Beneath the enormous transparent roof was a garden containing trees from Earth, including species carefully preserved through international botanical programs. Above the garden was an enormous inscription: "The heavens declare the glory of God, It was here that the three people at the center of our story lived and worked. A young explorer named Williams Jr. II. His mother, known throughout Citadelcorex simply as Mother Williams. And her brother, a brilliant systems engineer known by the unusual name JavaScript. 3 people, 3 generations of thought, and 1 extraordinary mission. Section 3. Williams Jr. Williams Jr. was 26 years old when the story truly began. He had been born during the earliest stages of humanity's permanent expansion beyond Earth. To him, Mars was not an impossible destination. It was a place where human beings lived. He had grown up watching spacecraft launch. He had studied the history of NASA's Artemis program, the development of reusable launch vehicles, the rise of commercial spaceflight, and the technological breakthroughs that eventually allowed permanent infrastructure to develop away from Earth. But Williams Jr. too had never been satisfied with simply watching history. He wanted to participate in it. His specialty was planetary systems and human habitation. He understood how difficult it was to keep human beings alive away from Earth. Every breath required technology. Every liter of water had to be recycled. Every kilogram transported from Earth represented enormous energy and financial cost. A city on Mars could not simply copy a city on Earth. It needed closed-loop agriculture. It needed radiation protection. It needed redundant power systems. It needed autonomous maintenance. It needed psychological support. And it needed something engineers rarely put into their equations: community. Williams believed that one of the greatest dangers of becoming a multiplanetary species was assuming that technological infrastructure alone could create civilization. He argued that civilization required meaning. That was why he joined Citadelcorex. He wanted to become what his organization called a galactic gospel disciple. Not an astronaut who happened to be Christian, not a missionary who happened to understand technology, but someone who believed exploration itself could become an opportunity for service, scientific discovery, and Christian witness. His mother had taught him that idea from childhood. Section 4. Mother Williams. Mother Williams was older, experienced, and respected throughout Jehovah Shabbat district. She had become one of the founding figures of Citadelcorex. Unlike her son, she had grown up during the transition between the old Earth-centered civilization and the emerging space civilization. She remembered a time when people watched rocket launches on television. She remembered when Mars missions lasted months and communication delays made conversations with astronauts difficult. She remembered when artificial intelligence was still something people debated, rather than something they lived alongside every day. Mother Williams understood the dangers of technological optimism. She loved technology, but she did not worship it. Her philosophy was that technology should increase humanity's ability to serve one another. Inside the Citadelcorex headquarters, she often told young explorers that the greatest achievement of the space age would not be planting a flag on another planet. It would be bringing human beings together without losing their humanity. Her favorite question was always the same: what happens when we can reach another world but don't know why we're going there? Williams Jr. II had heard the question hundreds of times. He never forgot it. Mother Williams also had another reason for caring about Citadelcorex: her brother, JavaScript. Section 5. JavaScript. The engineer who thought in systems. JavaScript was Mother Williams's younger brother and Williams Jr. II's uncle. His real name had become almost irrelevant. Everyone called him JavaScript because of his unusual career in computational engineering. He had spent decades working with artificial intelligence, spacecraft software, autonomous robotics, and planetary infrastructure. JavaScript could look at an entire settlement and immediately think in terms of interconnected systems. Food affected water. Water affected energy. Energy affected transportation. Transportation affected medical logistics. Medical logistics affected population growth. Population growth affected agriculture. Agriculture affected energy consumption. And everything depended upon information. His worldview was simple: A civilization is a system, and if humanity wanted to survive beyond Earth, that system had to become incredibly resilient. JavaScript had worked with technologies influenced by the enormous artificial intelligence revolution of the 2030s and 2040s. Systems developed by organizations such as XAI had demonstrated how advanced AI could assist with scientific research, reasoning, simulation, robotics, and complex engineering problems. But JavaScript believed AI needed boundaries. He often said that humanity could build machines capable of calculating almost anything, but calculation was not the same thing as wisdom. That belief eventually became central to Citadelcorex, because in 2050, the organization was preparing for its most ambitious mission yet. Section 6. The Citadelcorex mission. The mission was called Project Shalom. Its objective was not simply to explore Mars. Mars had already been explored extensively. Project Shalom intended to establish a permanent Christian scientific community inside a developing Martian settlement. The community would include engineers, doctors, agricultural scientists, teachers, astronomers, roboticists, theologians, historians, and families. It would not be a religious colony isolated from humanity. It would be integrated into the broader Martian civilization. NASA scientists were involved in scientific research associated with the expanding human presence on Mars. SpaceX transportation infrastructure had become critical to moving cargo and people between Earth and Mars. Autonomous systems supported by advanced AI helped manage increasingly complicated logistics. Citadelcorex wanted to contribute something different. It wanted to demonstrate that a Christian community could participate fully in advanced scientific civilization. Its members would conduct experiments. They would maintain farms. They would teach children. They would assist neighboring settlements. They would participate in scientific research. And every Sunday, regardless of planetary location, they would gather for worship. The concept was controversial. Some critics accused Citadelcorex of mixing religion with space exploration. Others thought religion would disappear once humanity became technologically advanced enough. Mother Williams disagreed with both assumptions. She believed humanity could become more technologically sophisticated while remaining deeply concerned with questions of morality, purpose, responsibility, and God. Williams Jr. agreed. JavaScript was less philosophical. He simply wanted to make sure everyone survived. Section 7. The first journey to Mars. The spacecraft launched from a heavily developed spaceport in 2050. Its transportation architecture had evolved from decades of reusable launch technology pioneered by companies including SpaceX, while NASA and international agencies continued developing scientific infrastructure and deep space research capabilities. Williams Jr. II stood inside the passenger module alongside dozens of other settlers. His mother was not traveling with him. JavaScript was. Mother Williams had decided that her son needed to make the journey without her. She would remain on Earth and coordinate Citadelcorex operations from Jehovah Shabbat district. Before launch, Williams called her. The communication was short. "Mom, yes, Junior? We're really doing this," she smiled. "People have been dreaming about this for thousands of years." Williams looked through the window toward the enormous launch complex. "And now? Now you're responsible for what comes next." The connection ended. Seconds later, the spacecraft began climbing. Earth disappeared beneath them. For Williams Jr. too, the most emotional moment did not occur during launch. It happened several hours later. He looked through the window and saw Earth. The planet appeared small, blue, fragile. Entire civilizations were compressed into a distant sphere. Williams whispered a prayer, not because he was afraid of space, because he suddenly understood how dependent humanity had always been on one world. Section 8. Mars, the second human world. The journey to Mars took months. During the voyage, JavaScript managed the autonomous infrastructure. Williams Jr. too studied planetary operations. The crew conducted scientific experiments. They maintained hydroponic crops. They exercised daily to reduce the effects of microgravity. They participated in virtual church services connecting them with Jehovah Shabbat district. The experience changed Williams. He began realizing that the Christian community of the future would not necessarily be defined by geographic borders. A church could have members on Earth, Mars, orbital habitats, and eventually perhaps the moons of Jupiter. Christianity had always traveled with humanity. Now humanity was traveling between planets. When Mars finally appeared in the window, everyone gathered. The planet filled their view. Red, cold, enormous, beautiful. JavaScript looked at the surface. "That," he said, "is the most expensive desert in human history." Williams laughed. But then the spacecraft descended, and history became real. Section 9. Jehovah Shabbat Mars. The Martian settlement was called Jehovah Shabbat Mars. It was not a replica of the Earth city. It was built mostly underground. The surface environment was hostile, with radiation, extreme temperatures, dust storms, and an atmosphere incapable of supporting human breathing. The city therefore existed beneath protective layers of Martian soil and engineered shielding. Its central habitat contained agricultural chambers. Residential areas surrounded community spaces. Scientific laboratories occupied another sector. At the center was something unexpected: a chapel. It was small. There was no enormous stained glass window. There were no traditional stone walls. Instead, its walls displayed a live view of Mars. A cross stood beside a scientific instrument designed to measure atmospheric conditions. The symbolism was deliberate. Faith and science were not being asked to compete. They were being placed beside each other. Williams Jr. the Kex walked into the chapel on the first evening. He sat alone. He looked at Mars, and he realized that he was sitting in a Christian place on another planet. For the first time in human history, the words "on Earth" were no longer required to describe where Christians lived. Section 10. The Galactic Gospel Disciples. Within months, Citadelcorex became famous. News organizations began describing its members as the Galactic Gospel Disciples. The name initially sounded dramatic, but the organization took it seriously. A Galactic Gospel Disciple was expected to meet 3 standards. First, scientific competence. Second, service to humanity. Third, Christian commitment. Members were trained as engineers, scientists, medical professionals, teachers, pilots, agricultural specialists, and researchers. Their religious identity was not presented as a substitute for expertise. It was supposed to influence how they used their expertise. A Citadelcorex engineer was expected to build safely. A scientist was expected to pursue truth honestly. A doctor was expected to protect human life. A leader was expected to serve rather than dominate. And an explorer was expected to remember that discovering a new world did not give humanity permission to destroy it. This became particularly important as humanity prepared to expand farther into the solar system. Section 11. NASA, SpaceX, and the new space civilization. By 2050, no single organization controlled humanity's expansion into space. NASA remained a major scientific and governmental institution. Its role increasingly involved planetary science, scientific infrastructure, international coordination, and long-duration human exploration. SpaceX had become one of the most influential commercial space transportation organizations in history, helping make repeated transportation between Earth and Mars increasingly practical. XI and other AI organizations contributed to the computational revolution that made large-scale autonomous operations possible. But Citadelcorex believed these organizations represented something larger than themselves. They were pieces of a civilization learning how to operate beyond Earth. NASA represented scientific exploration. SpaceX represented commercial transportation and industrial expansion. AI organizations represented computational intelligence. Citadelcorex represented something different. It represented a question. What kind of civilization should humanity become? That question would become increasingly important, because humanity was approaching the outer planets. Section 12. The Great Debate. One evening in Jehovah Shabbat Mars, a debate erupted among Citadelcorex members. A young engineer argued that humanity should prioritize expansion. "We should build everywhere," he said. "Mars, the moon, asteroids, orbital cities. We have the technology." Another scientist disagreed. "Technology doesn't mean we understand the consequences." JavaScript listened quietly. Finally, someone asked him what he thought. He stood. "Humanity has spent thousands of years learning how to conquer environments. Maybe the next stage is learning how to inhabit them without destroying them." Williams Jr. II looked at his uncle. JavaScript continued. "We don't need to turn every planet into Earth. We need to learn how to live responsibly wherever we go." Then Mother Williams appeared through a communication screen from Earth. She had been listening. She said only one sentence. "Jesus taught us to serve. He never taught us to conquer everything we see." The room became silent. That sentence became part of Citadelcorex philosophy. Section 13. The second generation. Years passed. Williams Jr. II eventually became one of the principal leaders of Citadelcorex Mars. Children began being born on Mars. They were the first generation of humans who had never lived on Earth. They studied Earth history like previous generations studied ancient civilizations. They learned about oceans, forests, birds, rain, thunderstorms. The smell of soil after rain became something they knew through recordings. Williams became fascinated by these children. They were human, completely human. Yet psychologically, they belonged to a new era. Their concept of home was no longer a single planet. One of them asked Williams a question during a classroom visit. "Where is heaven?" Williams paused. The child pointed upward. "Is it Earth?" Williams smiled. "No." "Is it Mars?" "No." "Then where?" Williams looked toward the transparent ceiling showing the Martian sky. "Heaven isn't a planet." The child thought about it. "Then what are we doing in space?" Williams answered. "We're exploring God's creation." Section 14. The Galactic Church. By the late 2050s, Christianity had become increasingly interplanetary. Church services were transmitted between Earth and Mars. Missionaries traveled aboard spacecraft. Theological conferences occurred simultaneously across multiple worlds. Some Christians lived permanently in orbital habitats. Others worked on lunar bases. Others traveled through the asteroid belt. Citadelcorex developed a new concept called the Galactic Church Network. It was not intended to replace existing denominations. Instead, it connected Christian communities across the expanding human civilization. A church service might begin in Jehovah Shabbat district on Earth. A pastor might speak from Mars. A choir could perform from an orbital station. A Bible reading might come from a research facility near the moon. And millions of people could participate through immersive communications. The technology was extraordinary. But Mother Williams constantly reminded people that technology was only the delivery system. The message was older than spacecraft, older than computers, older than cities, older than nations. Section 15. Mother Williams' final journey. Eventually, Mother Williams became too old to travel regularly. Her son returned to Earth to visit her. Jehovah Shabbat district had changed dramatically. The city had become one of the largest centers of Christian technological culture on Earth. Spacecraft launched regularly. Students from Mars attended universities through immersive systems. Artificial intelligence operated much of the city's infrastructure. The Citadelcorex headquarters had expanded into an enormous campus. Mother Williams walked slowly through the central garden. Williams Jr. II walked beside her. "Do you remember when we started?" he asked. She smiled. "Started what?" "Citadelcorex." She looked at the enormous garden. "We didn't start this." "What do you mean?" "We joined something much bigger." She looked upward. The sky was blue, but humanity's future was no longer limited to that sky. "You've gone farther than I ever imagined," she said. Williams answered, "Because you taught me to go." She shook her head. "No, I taught you why." Section 16. The Final Frontier. By the 2060s, humanity's expansion continued. The moon became industrially important. Mars became increasingly self-sufficient. Asteroid mining began providing raw materials. Orbital cities became permanent communities. Scientific missions traveled toward the outer solar system, and Citadelcorex followed. Its members did not claim that every star belonged to humanity. They did not claim that technological progress would solve every human problem. They understood that the universe was unimaginably large. Humanity was still young, but they believed exploration could be an expression of curiosity, stewardship, and faith. Williams Jr. II stood inside the Citadelcorex observatory one night. The stars were everywhere. JavaScript stood beside him. "You ever wonder what's out there?" JavaScript asked. Williams smiled. "Every day. Think we'll find life? I don't know. Think we'll reach another star? I don't know." JavaScript laughed. "You're becoming a very cautious explorer." Williams looked through the telescope. Then he said, "But I know one thing." "What?" "We're not finished." Section 17. Citadelcorex. The history of Citadelcorex was never really about rockets. It was about people. It was about a mother who believed technological progress needed spiritual direction. It was about a young man who wanted to explore the universe without abandoning his faith. It was about an engineer named JavaScript who understood that civilizations survive through systems, cooperation, and responsibility. It was about a city called Jehovah Shaba District that demonstrated that futuristic civilization did not necessarily have to abandon ancient values. And it was about an idea. The idea that Christianity could survive the transition from an Earth-based civilization into a multiplanetary one. By 2050, humanity had crossed the first great boundary. Earth was no longer humanity's only home. But Citadelcorex believed that becoming multiplanetary did not mean becoming less human. If anything, the farther humanity traveled, the more important its values became. The Galactic Gospel. Disciples therefore continued their mission. They built laboratories. They established schools. They planted gardens beneath Martian soil. They repaired spacecraft. They studied distant worlds. They helped neighboring settlements. They prayed. They questioned. They discovered. And they continued looking toward the heavens, not because they believed humanity had conquered creation, but because they believed creation was worth exploring. Section 18. The message from Jehovah Shaba. Decades later, a message from Jehovah Shaba District was transmitted across the solar system. It was recorded by Mother Williams before her death and preserved by Citadelcorex as one of its founding messages. Her voice traveled through the network from Earth to Mars, from Mars to orbital stations, and eventually toward spacecraft traveling beyond the traditional boundaries of human civilization. She said, "To every explorer who hears this message, remember where you came from. Remember Earth. Remember the people who came before you. Remember the scientists who gave you the tools to travel. Remember the engineers who built your ships. Remember the generations who dreamed before you were born. And above everything else, remember that reaching the stars does not make you the creator. It makes you responsible for what you discover." The recording ended. For several seconds, there was silence. Then Williams Jr. II looked through the window. Mars was rising over the horizon. Behind it was the sun. Beyond that were billions of stars. And somewhere far away was Earth, the old world, the first home, the beginning. Williams whispered, "Citadelcorex continues." JavaScript smiled. "Where next?" Williams looked toward the stars. "Wherever God allows us to go." And with that, the spacecraft doors closed. The engines began to ignite. Another generation of explorers prepared to leave Mars. Humanity was no longer a single-planet species. The gospel was no longer traveling only across continents. And the story of Citadelcorex was no longer confined to Earth. Humanity had reached the planets. Now it was beginning to reach for the stars.